I was just gonna ask, well, because I know Mika brought up the topic of being called a pick me. What do you do as a woman when you're being called a pick me by men for supporting men? Because I
You
don't
tell
think that
them,
gets brought up.
yeah, I think you should roast them and say, you should be honored that I'm even doing this, you dumbass. Like, I would literally tell, like, any guy that tries to shame you for actually being a woman,
Because
like,
there's men in the chat that'll say it, especially if I support Anton. Ugh, they hate that.
yeah. And these guys are simps a lot of the times, like, because they don't understand, because it's so, for a lot of guys, right? Them seeing a naturally submissive woman is like crazy to them because a lot of women aren't anymore. Like the average woman is, I'm independent, I'm strong, I could do everything a man could do. So when a lot of these guys that are younger that are not used to seeing a naturally feminine woman, they'll see it and they're like, what is this? This is weird. Like she's
Hmm.
listening to a man. This is a foreign concept. Like the whole concept of male authority has been killed over the past 30 to 40 years. So like younger guys, right, or simps, they don't understand that this is how women are actually supposed to behave. But since we've been indoctrinated with feminism so much and it's so ubiquitous in our society, um, guys don't even know how to respond to that. So like when guys are saying, "Oh, you're a pick me," tell them you're a bitch ass nigga, just straight up like that. That's what I would say.
No, no,
Well, one time, oh,
he's right because they do that a lot of the times, and they'll even do that if you just give your honest thoughts and opinions. And a person like me, where I grew up, where everybody is a housewife, everybody, they'll be like, "Oh, well, that's not the norm. That's not natural. That's not this. You must be a chameleon. You must be this." And so I see it just like Molly said on the female side and the male side. But I think it's feminism that has gone both ways. Like there are a lot of men that do, intertwine with feminism, even though they don't really say it.
So there's
Hmm.
two. So the thing I think that's important is like to kind of understand that to make this make more sense. The
Mhm.
two genders are calling you a pick me for different reasons.
Right.
So the women are calling you a pick me so that you no longer become a qualified potential to a man of status because men of status are screening for that, right? Women sabotage each other all the time. That's why they compete when because what I've noticed with women is like it's a battle of the cerebral, right? And the surreptitious. And what I mean by that is they'll try to one up you by, and I'm sure all you ladies can attest to what I'm about to say. They'll one up you by trying to dress better than you. They'll one up you by trying to be prettier than you. You guys are going out to a function. It's a competition with who could look better, right? It's all about, okay, I'm going to be the prettier one so that I can go ahead and get the higher status males. So if you exude personality traits that higher status men look for, they're going to call you a pick me to disqualify you from the mating process. And it's a very evil thing that women do surreptitiously, of course, because women battle in the cerebral, right? Now, when men call you a pick me, it's one of two things. It's either they're a simp and just don't, they're a simp and they're used to like women that are more masculine and they're not used to seeing that. So that's how they respond. Or, or B, they're just retarded and they haven't seen that type of woman because they might be young, they're not familiar with this because feminine women is like rare to come by nowadays, very difficult to find. So that's what I've realized. The two genders do it. Men do it from a position of stupidity and naivety. Women do it from a more vicious perspective of trying to disqualify you from potentially higher status men that are literally screening for women that are compliant and submissive. Because hypermasculine men are very how do I say this? They're very privy to women that are feminine because that is their opposite. That's what they're looking for. Just like women are hyper attracted to dominant, assertive, masculine men, men are very attracted to feminine, compliant women. And when women see you behave this way, and they know deep down, it's almost like a defense mechanism. When they see you behave this way, that's their way of getting you to not be qualifiable to a higher status guy that's screening for that very femininity you're displaying.
Let me
well, when
ask
I
you.
Learned about
I
the,
would,
oh,
I
go
would,
ahead,
Go ahead,
Anton.
Carrie. Go ahead, Carrie.
No, I was just gonna say when I learned about what a pick me was, because I didn't learn about it until Clubhouse came out and somebody called me that. I didn't even know to be offended. And once they explained to me what it was, I leaned into it because I was like, well, isn't the goal to be picked? And I got picked, so I'm cool with it. I just
And
leaned
the other
into the
thing too,
term.
it's such a foreign, especially in the black community, right? Don't want to make this a racial thing, but it does matter to a degree. In the black community, coming across feminine women that are actually black as well, it's like a novelty almost. Like it's not common because so many black women are kind of like taught to be independent of men, don't rely on a man or whatever, just from like the culture and everything else like that. So when they do see a black woman that's submissive and feminine or whatever, it's like almost a culture shock to them. And then like you said, you're taken, you found a man. So boom, clearly it worked. Other people are going to try to sabotage you, but I look at it like a woman's biggest W isn't her title. It's do you have a man that is committed to you and do you have a family? I think that's the biggest W for a woman. I put more value on a housewife than a career woman every single day. And I think we need to go back in a society where we prioritize and respect the women and cherish and protect the women that want to be mothers, not the women that want to be career, whatever. And here's my other thing, right? Because everyone says, oh, Myron, you're just anti-feminist. You hate working women. This is my thing. If women want to work, fine. I don't really have a problem with that. They want to enter education, cool. But we need to be honest with them and tell them this whole cold hard reality, right? And I'm going to tell my daughter this too one day. If you decide to pursue a career and acquire status and excellence and resources, you are dwindling the potential pool of men that will want you. And not only are you dwindling them, you are making them less likely to want to be with you because they don't want to date themselves. So I always say when women become successful, doors close. When men become successful, doors open. So I would tell her to go into education and getting a job with her eyes wide open. I'll say, look, you go to school, but start looking for a husband while you're there. I had a very tough talk with my sister a couple of years ago, and I'll never forget this. She was about 27, studying to be a doctor. She was about to go into med school, and I knew kind of what was going from there. And I'll never forget this. We're in Brooklyn, we're sitting there, and I'm parking her car, parallel parking there, we're having a discussion. And I looked at her, I said, don't be a stupid bitch. Find a man now while you can. It's going to be harder for you when you become a doctor. Find a guy now. You're in school, maybe in med school. Find a guy now. As you get older, you won't be able to do this. And she got mad at me and she looked at me like, oh, you're such a misogynist, you're such a chauvinist. But she took my advice and she found a guy and she got married to a guy that's an anesthesiologist, and she's doing her residency right now. But I warned her about this years before she got into her 30s to set herself up to understand maybe I need to start looking for a man too and not just focus on the books. And she found one. I'm happy. But I had to tell her she was a stupid bitch for her to wake up and realize, damn, this is do or die if I don't figure this out. I had to break through that loop because people tell women all the time, when are you going to have a family? Have some kids. I had to break through that loop and say, you're a dumb bitch. Find a guy now. You are not going to be able to find one when you become a doctor. You're cooked once you become a doctor.
Let me ask you one more question. First of all, let me give you your flowers because I appreciate you even coming here.
Bro, thank you for showing love on my stream, bro. I didn't forget that. So I had to come in. Thank you.
No, I think that we over time you just grow. I've grown personally myself and matured in a lot of ways to where I realize that I can't let other people put batteries in my back to ultimately feel some type of way about people that I've never even met before. So I had to go and check myself and then also observe some of your content in which I've learned a lot about you. And one of the things that I've learned about you, and I've actually given you a lot of props for it in your platform, is that you spend a lot of times, I know a lot of people spend a lot of time talking about your take on women and things like that. But one of the things that you guys don't get a lot of credit for is all of the game that you give and all of the encouragement that you give to a lot of guys on finances, resources, leveling up, fitness, all of these things. So first of all, I want to give you your flowers for that because I think that a lot of times we don't give people their flowers in real time. And people are so quick to react to things that they think is salacious instead of observing a whole picture. And so, first of all, I want to give you your flowers from that.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. And we need you in Miami to do a show, bro. When you get it, whenever you're down here.
Absolutely, 100%. The second thing that I want to ask you is just a personal question about you. Personally.
Sure.
Do you ever plan on getting married? And if so, what would that look like?
Fantastic question. I get this often. It's so the way I'm going to do it is going to be a bit unorthodox, but I think the number one, the nuclear family, I think, is the backbone of any society. We need it. It's very important. I think the destruction of nuclear families was set blacks back a lot because during the civil rights era, we had more families and we're more successful despite the fact that we had the most segregation, the most racism, and the most oppression, right? So that goes to show how powerful the nuclear family is. Number two, when I do decide to get married, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to involve the state. And the reason why I would get married is solely for kids, to create that environment where, the child is like, oh, mom and dad are together and they're, they have a conventional relationship to a degree where there's a marriage. I just wouldn't do it with the state because I do think marriage is important for a family. But just the way we go about it today is extremely dangerous and, problematic for men because we put so much on the line, and women literally are incentivized to divorce us, especially if you got some money.
That's fair. Does anybody else have any comments or questions for Myron before we go ahead and wrap up the show?
And I didn't mean to come in here and take all the thunder, guys, man.
No. I like to extend the platform. We on here regularly. So the people that you see here right now it's not uncommon for us to be here on a regular basis. But
Okay.
I always like to give the floor, you know what I'm saying, to you, and then we chime in because it's not a normal thing that we get somebody in here to where we actually respect enough to actually, you know what I'm saying, hear them cook and let them get their
And
opinion.
I do want to give the ladies on the panel a degree, like a huge amount of support and love, because like usually when I say these talking points, a lot of women like, oh my God, this guy is crazy, blah blah blah, and I've noticed that you guys have actually been intently listening to everything I've been saying, and I do appreciate that because most women just get triggered and go off the rails. But for you guys allowing me to give my points and kind of expanding on it, it makes a lot more sense. When I say it originally, it's shocking, but then when I explain, hey, this is how I came to this conclusion, um, and people afford me that opportunity, a lot of times they end up agreeing with me.
I say
Anton
I
knows how to pick his women.
well, I agree for two reasons. Words themselves are not like inherently offensive. Like you're offended because you believe it to be true. So you can talk all you want about black women. If it doesn't apply to me, there's no reason for me to be offended. And then Quentin will
I
tell
wish
you,
I
I
wish black women had that mindset that you have. It's like they look at it as like, oh, you're making general statements. It doesn't apply to me. I'm high IQ enough to realize like you're not talking about me. So whatever.
But they're looking from the emotional standpoint because most women are emotional, but you can have enough logic to say, okay, well, he's not. It doesn't apply to me, and you can have enough logic to look outside of yourself and say, yeah, most do act like that, and then a lot of women act, like they're offended by vulgar language.
I think that a lot of people want people to push back for the sake of pushing back, but you can have a difference of opinion in somebody, but sometimes you align with what it is that they're saying. If you understand what they're saying and they making valid points, it's not always necessary to push back just for the sake of pushing back. You know what I'm saying? So I don't understand the whole hey you guys got to push back thing. I don't subscribe to that. I just think that when people are cooking, then you give them the floor and you let them do their thing. I don't understand that. So
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give you guys an example, right? So I am very critical of when it comes to politics, and I'd use this example just because it makes sense and it can kind of explain the difference. I'm very critical of Israel. I have made a lot of comments on the state. I have my political grievances, whatever. But I do have friends and colleagues that are hardcore Zionists. And though this should be a dividing line where we should never be talking to each other, we should literally hate each other. I do think it's important to, you don't have to be great friends with them, but I do think it's important to have people in your circle or your realm of influence that oppose your views, because it kind of keeps you sharp when you have a discussion with them. It keeps you on your P's and Q's. So I think not just from a networking perspective, but I think just being able to agree to disagree is a very adult thing to do that's kind of missing from society. So, yeah, it's something that's really important. A lot many people have.
well, listen, I appreciate you for coming through.
No,
Um,
thank you for having me, bro.
it's been a great stream, and then to have you, top it off with your insight and information. Again, I don't think that people get a lot of enough credit, and I'm gonna give you your flowers right now. I think that you dope, bro, and I absolutely love. I'm not even so much into the content. I know that there's an audience for the conversations when it comes to relationships, but the stuff that I really value that you've been tapping into is the Fed React stuff.
Oh, thank you,
And
bro.
yeah, the Fed React stuff is really great. And the conversations that you have about leveling up and the different guests that you bring on that speak on money situations
I
and
mean,
stuff.
I see you putting people on with money and stuff like that too, and I think it's really important, right? Because a lot of guys in this space will just shit on women all day, right? Oh, women this, women that, blah, blah, blah. But like, they're not going to do what's required. So like, for me, I looked at it like, okay, look, we got problems with dating. Yes. Feminism sucks. Yes. So what does that mean? You can't be an average guy anymore. As I was describing before, you got to be above average. You need to be in a position where you're a provider. My advice I always tell guys is, yo, make enough money to the point where if you have a woman, she can tell her boss at any time to fuck off. I don't even think she should work. But I do think like, as a man, it's your duty to either A, your woman doesn't have to work, or B, if she does decide to work, at any point she could say, F you to the boss and I don't need you. And I think that level of security is what every man kind of needs to strive to have for their girl. I'm against women entering the workforce, I think, especially when they have kids. But if y'all both don't have kids, she wants to work, make some money on the side, she wants to not be, have a hobby, whatever, that's cool. But I think she should still have the wiggle room to tell her boss to F off whenever she wants. I think that's your duty as a man.
Facts.
I agree. I agree.
And that's why you got to teach them how to make money. So I definitely see you doing that as well for the guys, and not just making a red pill echo chamber. Rather, let me help y'all make money so you guys can be in a better position. And that's how we landed this conversation in the first place with Paul Pierce. All he's saying is now dude's got choice.
I agree 100%. Well, I guess that's it. So, Myron, I appreciate you for coming through. Thank you, my friend. I don't want to hold you here just so I can.
Nah, no worries, bro. I'll hit you on Twitter and we'll set some up. In the future, I'll come in a more formal fashion so we can plan it out and announce it. But I just saw you kind of live, and I was like, let me come in here and say what up, bro. Show some love.
Man, I appreciate you for coming through, my friend. Yeah, I'll
Nice
set
meeting you.
something up.
Pleasure to meet you two ladies. And thank you guys for being such good,
And you did good.
panelists.
You cooked.
Like, I don't like. I give y'all the ladies one more, a flower. So I've interviewed like 3,500 women on my show, right? And one of the biggest obstacles
Really? Has it been that many?
Bro, it's crazy, man. I'm like a black belt with females. It's wild. Like, I know what, bro. I feel like Mr. Miyagi. Like, I know what they're gonna say before they even say it. I'm like literally wax off every time, like blocking attacks. But one thing, right? When I talk to women, that's been a very interesting thing that never kind of evaporates, no matter the girl's status, money, or her religious background, cultural background, is there's this level where if you say things that are controversial, they can't like just sit, listen, finish, let you say the whole point. It's like their solipsism almost gets in the way. And the way you guys have been able to kind of like listen, but let me hear this out, not interject, and like be able to be like, I see your perspective. That's rare. I almost never experienced that with women. So thank you for that, ladies.
Thank you.
Anton taught you guys well.